Today we have another battle report summary against the Necron Starshatter Arsenal against the new Ork Tactical Brigade. So if you are interested to see how these two armies match up against each other, what went wrong, what went right, things we learned, and you want to see it in kind of this condensed format, stick around. This is going to be the video for you, and we're going to be talking about it. So let's get into it here. By popular demand, y'all wanted us to go over the lists beforehand. I went ahead and included the links to these lists down below in the description, but let's switch over and check out the list for today. So the Necron Starshatter Arsenal list, nothing has changed as of recently. And of course, because this is in the app, the enhancements are not shown. So I do apologize. They are going to be updating that, I believe, the end of January, they said sometime. So hopefully won't have to be waiting too much longer. But we have two Hexmark destroyers. One has the -1 damage enhancement. We have Imhotep the Stormlord, a Locust Lord, the Silent King, a Canoptic Reanimator, Canoptic Spider, Doomsday Ark, Flayed Ones, 6 Locust Destroyers, 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers with the Emetics, 1 Locust Heavy Destroyer with 1 Emetic, 3 Scorpec Destroyers, 2 units of 3 Tomb Blades, and 2 Triarch Stalkers to round out the list. Let's switch over to our Tactical Brigade list today. So we have the Big Mech in Mega Armor, 2 Big Mechs with Shock Attack Gun, Snickrot, because he is so clutch, Infiltrate, and he is just the best. We have 2 War Bosses and Zogrog, a great character. Good synergy with the Gretchen, giving them like -1 to wound, all that good stuff. So just a great utility unit. We got a unit of 10 boys. We have 4 trucks. We have 2 Breaka Boys, which you are going to be pleasantly surprised of how hard these guys hit. I had no idea they were flat 3 damage on these guys in combat, AP2. Okay, man, new data sheets. I tell you, those hammers be hammering. All right, those hammers be hammering. And then we have, let's see, 3 units of Flash Kits, 1 unit of 10 Gretchen to probably go in Zodgrod's unit. And then we have a couple units of Storm Boys and the Tank Bustas, which I think are probably one of the very few units in the game that can give the Silent King a problem, especially if you're running it in Dread Mob. There's a little bit more synergy with those new Tank Bustas, so they can definitely punch. They can do some damage, so you got to respect them. So let's swing over to the report here. So we have Terraform today, diagonal deployment. We are doing Layout 1 GW. I am based here in the U.S., so I know many of you have been asking as far as like some ITC or WTC layouts. Who knows? It could be coming in the future, but I do play in the U.S., and most of the tournaments are in GW format, so that is what I practice on. But hopefully, if you practice on other formats, still going to get value watching this and how we're staging and doing all this sort of thing. There's a lot of good things that happened in this report, so please stick around. This one might be a little bit longer than usual because there was a lot of very tactical plays in this one to edge this out. So we are going to get first turn on Terraform. We are going to get Secure No Man's Land and Establish Locus. And to preface before we start moving, the only unit that I have in reserve in this match is the Tomb Blades. Reason for that is with Orks, depending on if you're going first or second, they have really good early board control, so it's really hard, especially if you have stuff that's not coming in Deep Strike or Strategic Reserve, to really screen out those units to push them back. So it's really hard to get the value sometimes out of those units. So I elected just to bring in mostly everything just in case I didn't go first. And then worst case scenario, I still have that firepower on the board where they can, shift wherever they need to and respect it. Okay, so stick around. I'm very excited because there's a couple really cool maneuvers that I did the first turn with the Stalkers to really highlight them and how strong I really believe they are in Starshatter. So Secure No Man's Land and Establish Locus. Let's get to it. So we are going to scout up our Stalkers, as you can see here. We're going to move up our Flayed Ones, scout up our Tomb Blades, and essentially all we're looking to do this turn is Move up the flayed ones here. They're going to get me established locust for 2 points. They're also going to get my secure no man's land. I do have to put them up against the wall so he is able to charge them. But for 60 points, getting 5 points out of that unit the first turn, that is nothing to complain about. And if he wants to go after them and expose something, cool. Then we are going to, as you know, we're going to move up the king. We're going to basically move up all of these assets here. We are going to shift up the Doomsday Arc up here. Because he doesn't have anything that other than like tank busters or something, but he's probably not going to expose that too early. So we're just going to shift it up and cover this line here. So that way, if I need to just keep it still that next turn, I'm going to be hitting on 2s with dev wins. So, and everything else is just more or less going to stay put. So let's fast forward here. And this is essentially what the bottom of turn 1 looks like. And as you can see here, that's it. So we shift the Tomb Blades back. We put the Stalker here, and this is one thing that I want to highlight going into the turn is we put the Stalker here because it's not going to be on a point. Like I talk about, do not put units on a point if you don't have to, because your opponent can draw Overwhelming or Storm Hostile the first turn, and you're literally just handing them free points. Like in the early game, make them earn their secondaries. Don't make it easy for them. So we put the Stalker here. Same idea as where he really either has to shift a resource out here to go get it or like come over here and get it. Like it's not completely hidden, but the idea is you have the strat with flat 6 advance, right? So a lot of his units, he doesn't really have the ability to pop it in one activation. Like tank buses, maybe if they spike in this attachment, might be able to do it. But with that said, if he does fire at it, it's conveniently placed where I can flat 6 advance onto this objective, or I can flat 6 advance onto this objective. And the thing is that it covers such a wide area that a lot of times wherever you go, he's not going to have another unit probably to fire at that first turn, and it puts your opponent in a pickle where it's like, oh crap, well, I really want to get this off the table, but at the same time, if I fire on it, I'm going to get on a point, and then I'm potentially just going to take extra primary that next turn. So a really good move you can maybe try out with these Stalkers in the next game if you can do it on this like layout. So kind of a cool little trick there. So going into his turn, he is going to get Assassination engaged on all fronts. Pretty rough pull for him first turn, not going to lie. He does cycle Assassination and get Area Denial, which was also not really ideal because he didn't really want to go after these flayed ones. But more or less, he is going to play pretty conservative this first turn, which I thought was a pretty good move on his part. So he elects not to go after the flayed ones here and just gets baby Area Denial because we killed enough of the Storm Boys from the indirect on the Silent King in turn 1, so they couldn't punch quite as hard. So he kept them there. He got baby Area Denial and passed it over to me. So he really didn't expose much. I mean, this was kind of a weird game. Granted, I will preface, like, he predominantly plays Green Tide. He's like through and through a Green Tide player. It's super cool. But he did want to just try out this detachment. So he's only gotten a couple reps with it. So, bear that in mind. But, I think he positioned potentially this right to start. We're really not wanting to expose too much until like the WA turn, like really kind of forcing me to come out a little bit more and then attack. Okay. So going into his turn 1, yeah, again, that's what it looks like. So going into turn 2, we are going to get a 8 on primary because we weren't able to terraform there on turn 1. And then we get Area Denial and Containment. So another very good pull for me this next turn. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do that cheeky move here, where if you see where the deployment line is, and outside your deployment, there is a pocket here, 9 inches, that you can basically swing over the Tomb Blades to contain here. And then I can move this Hexmark Destroyer over here to get Holy Within 9. So essentially what we do, let's clean this up. We get containment on this edge, and then we get containment on this edge by that play. Okay, so we're going to get 6 on containment by doing that. And then Area Denial, all we really have to do is just kill these Storm Boys. And then more or less everything else we're just staging up. Okay, so we are going to swing the Stalker over here because he does have Storm Boys with Deep Strike in reserve, so we do have to respect that. So now we do have to shift something over this way to screen that out. And then we're basically just shifting up resources to get more board control, get things into position, as you can see here. and get ready for him to come out. So going into his turn 2, he is definitely going to call the Wa, and he's going to get a 4 on primary, and he's going to get Bring It Down and Containment. So a good pull for him this turn. I have quite a few vehicles exposed that he can pop, and Containment is a pretty good pull in the second turn because you do have units easily in corners that can do objectives. So he's going to do the similar maneuver here. He's going to double contain over here. And then Bring It Down, he's obviously looking to kill the Stalker and the Silent King potentially this turn, or like a Doomsday Arc. So he could really score big with Bring It Down this turn. But he is going to call the Wa. And let's see what this turn looks like. So you're going to see him come out. I'm going to pause it right before the charges happen. So let's just start right there. So he's got tank buses out here. He's got flash gits, all that good stuff. He's going to fire basically most of these resources actually into the Doomsday Arc. He puts a squig into the Silent King, does like a couple wounds. It went pretty well for him this turn. Like he popped the Doomsday Arc on the nose, like just got it. And then he also got this spider here on the nose, like just got it. So that was like super good, at least there. So he popped the Doomsday Arc, popped the spider, and then he also popped this Triarch Stalker over here before in the shooting phase. So overall, I think it was a really good shooting turn for him, and then he is going to charge in. And this is one thing that we're talking about with like MSU armies or like Horde armies in general. You can see here, like this is what creates the problem for Starshatter. Okay, so what you're seeing me try to do is limit the amount of line of sight on these ancillary pieces or these accessories, more or less, with the King, and trying to take up surface area on the point as best I can, and then still load it up with OC. So we have the Doomsday Arc on here. We have the King, which is 8 OC. So now we have, what is that, 13, 16 with the Reanimator, 18 with the Spider. Okay, so we are, like, we have to just, like, try to anchor that down, take up as much space as possible, and try to lock in these primaries, because if I don't do that, you just lose this game. So it's a really good thing I just want to point out when you're playing against these sort of matchups is very important to do. But he does a good job of cleaning up some of those resources. Silent King, he charges in with 2 units, the unit of Flash Gits and the unit of the boys with the War Boss. And they kill the Mineers, but they don't really do much else. I think he gets the King down to like 14 wounds or 12 wounds. I mean, with the -1 damage, it's just brutal. I didn't need to spend the 2 CP to counter-offensive. That is the one interesting tactic with the King, because he is so durable. Like, really the main way to try to get him is like hitting him with 2 melee units. But the problem is like when they both go in, one's going to get to attack. And then a lot of times if you can counter-offensive with the other one, the King is probably just going to rinse that other unit. And they're not really going to do much. So didn't need to do that here because Flash Gits don't hit that hard. So we just went against the boys because they're the main target. And he killed the entire unit except for the War Boss. Flash Gits go in. They don't really do much damage. And that is pretty much the turn. Okay, so he is going to get a 4 on Bring It Down and a 6 on Containment, so a good secondary turn for him, and then he's going to pass it over to me. So we're going into turn 3, and we are going to get no prisoners and defend Stronghold. So another good pull this turn, good synergies for secondaries, and we are definitely going to defend here. Don't really have to talk much about that, and then we're just going to kill stuff. So we are going to whittle down this Gretchen unit. I don't like them. We're going to try to kill this War Boss and then kill these Flash Gits are the biggest problem. And then, again, we're always trying to look to see how we can deny. And this is what I'm talking about with the Stalkers and the Tomb Blades, why they're so good in this detachment, and they're going to get highlighted again. So one of the biggest errors that Ken did, I believe, this game is he didn't stack enough primary on these objectives. Okay, so I know he didn't want to put some of these units on the objectives, but just by putting, like, 2 more maybe Flash Gits on here, he prevents this problem from happening. So essentially what we're going to do is we are going to drop in these Tomb Blades exactly right here to get them wholly within 6, so I can fire and fade 1 on the objective to tie it. And you're going to see why that is so important, because the next turn he actually draws Storm Hostile, And because we tie this objective, nobody controls it. So he cannot storm hostile that objective. So it leaves him, unfortunately, only this objective to go after to score points, which is like a really good thing to highlight. I told you there's a lot of Easter eggs in this game summary. I'm telling you. This is why if you guys stick around, you're gonna be learning. So the Tomb Blades drop in there. And we're just going to kill some stuff. So let's just fast forward here. Let's just move this along. We are going to kill some units here. And that's basically what happens. So you see here, the Tomb Blades fire in. He tries to overwatch with the tank busters, but not like the best overwatch threat per se, at least in this detachment. He does whiff. But yeah, so the Tomb Blades end up surviving, and they get on the objective to deny the point. And then we end up killing the war boss, and then the Silent King is going to basically clean up some of these flash gets in melee and call it a turn. Although he does spike pretty hard on those 5-up invols in that turn, which was rough. So we didn't kill as much as we had hoped, but yeah, it happens. So going into his turn 3, now another super spicy move happens, okay? So he's going to shift up resources. Let me see here. So this is the top of 3. Let's go into the bottom of 3 here. So he's going to get another 4 on primary. He just holds this objective, right? Then he is going to get storm hostile, like I said, and no prisoners. So he's going to try to storm hostile this objective, and he gets no prisoners, which is a pretty decent pull. So he's going to kill these Tomb Blades, and then he's going to kill, these like flayed ones, I think. So pretty easy synergy there. So let's fast forward here. Tomb Blades are going to die. Now, this is what I want to highlight here. Okay. So Stalker is here. Silent King is here. Ken is a very good player, and I know what he is trying to do here because we have a hex mark right here. Now, what is going to happen is he wants to kill this Stalker, right? Which he does. So he kills it with the tank buses. He's got enough shooting in the flash gets because the flash gets can fall back, shoot, and charge with this detachment. So he kills the Stalker. Then he fires. So the Stalker is no longer here. Okay, so think of it as not here. We don't have a picture of it. He fires at the Silent King. Does some damage. The Silent King is able to flat 6 advance this way. And you're like, okay, why the heck are you wanting to do that? Okay, so what happens is now, because in an ideal world, if this Stalker isn't here, what does he do? He charges the flash gets here on the hex mark and kills him, and then he consolidates on the point and he takes it. And the King, he's a vehicle. He can't heroic intervene. You only heroic intervene with vehicle walkers, right? So he gets on the point, he takes it, he gets storm hostile, and he denies me primary. But because he shot at the King, we can flat 6 advance him over here. And we can block this area here to essentially prevent him from charging the hex mark. So it basically forces him to either try to YOLO charge a reanimator, or he could charge at the King. So it puts him in the predicament of, like, if he wants to take over the point, like, the King is basically just going to get his attacks in. So wanted to just highlight that there. And as you can see, that's what happens. The tank bus is charging the reanimator to try to get that down. The flash hit's going to charge in here. The King just kills the entire squad except for the mech. And then we end up still holding the point because we have 11 OC going into my turn. So turn 4, we're going to get a 10 on primary. We get extend battle lines and storm hostile. So again, another really good pull. So we're going to extend here automatically. And then now we're just going to basically just start. It's turn 4. If stuff dies, it doesn't matter. All you're trying to do is, like, how can I just keep your primary down, just give you 4s, give you 8s, and call it good. So we're going to flat 6 advance these destroyers up on the point to line this objective because he has boys in this truck. So if I kill this truck, these boys get out, and then they can just take the point. Okay, that's why transports with guys in them are so good in this game. It creates, like, big problems that you got to deal with on multiple points. So you're going to see me do that. So we're going to fast forward here. You can see that play out. The Scorpex are going to move here. There's another really good play on this turn that I'm going to highlight in terms of denying primary. And that is essentially it. So we are going to storm hostile here. To get our secondary points, we pop the transport, and then we do some chip damage to the boys just to try to whittle them down, or try to minimize how much he can do on the clap back at the destroyers. But at this point, like, I don't care if they die. Like, we're just trying to like create a delta on points and see what we can do. So the other thing is the storm boys. Okay, so again, with this unit here, I was measuring for a heroic intervene threat, and the 6-inch line was literally like right here. So it definitely made it super safe where if the Scorpex, they just connected here, as long as I based right here, there was no way for him to heroic intervene. Thankfully, they rolled a 9-inch charge, so I could literally just base the Scorpex here. Actually, let me zoom out here. Scorpex could go here, here, and here. Okay, so you're going to see that plan out, and then they consolidate on the objective again and then deny him primary. So highlighting there, Scorpex doing their thing, being really good for some primary denial. And then we pass it over to him. So it's turn 4, he's going to get a 4 on primary again, and he's going to get established locus and recover assets. Not the most ideal pull this turn because he really needs some action monkeys, but he's going to drop a Snickrot back here. And then he is going to recover assets with these 2 vehicles because at this point he's going to tag these locust destroyers. I don't really have much anti-tank left because the 2 Minears are done, so that was a good play on his part. So you're going to see that play out here. So we have a recover here, and a behind enemy lines here. He's going to move up this unit. He's going to completely just destroy this unit. As you can see, they are wiped. I used the Res Orb on the Locust Lord, but it's like, you know, really no point at this point. And he passes it over to me. So we're going to get another 10 on primary going into turn 5. We get Cull the Horde, Cleanse, which I cycle because I can only get 2 points on that. Unfortunately, we get Bring It Down, which I had no way to like really interact with this truck or this truck over here. So that was going to be a dud. Still finished 37 on secondary, so can't complain. But maybe should have just kept Cleanse. Might have been actually the smarter way because I didn't realize I was that close. So I think maybe learning opportunity there. Don't spend the CP to cycle Cleanse. Check your secondaries at the end, and if you're already pretty much close to cap, should have just kept Cleanse, got the 39, called it good. So that is the end of my turn 5. So we're going to get 4, 8, and then the Terraform for 10. We're going to pass it over to him. There's really no way that I'm going to be able to prevent him from getting a 15 at the end. He's got this sticky. He's going to control these 2. He has enough to double Terraform. And he's going to get a double Cleanse for this one, and then defend on the end objective. So, and then that was pretty much the game. So that is the Ork Tactical Brigade versus the Necron Starshatter. If you guys stuck around this long, seriously, appreciate you. Hopefully there are some good lessons in this battle report or this report summary. That's why I love doing them. I mean, there's these little kind of Easter eggs throughout. I think it's super fun to just kind of condense them down into this format, and hopefully you all are finding a lot of value out of it. And it definitely, I think it helps me too. You know, just reflecting on these games, looking at these pictures, like I think it's just super cool that like I can help you guys, and then it also helps me as well. So, which I think is great. Like it's mutually beneficial. But anyways, I'm gonna link 2 videos up top for you to check out. Again, appreciate you watching. Until the next one, peace.